and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's go.
Round one, fight.
Thank you for tuning in to the Crypto Street Podcast. Here are your hosts, Killer Whale, Prince, and Crypto Dale.
And remember to tip your waitress.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Crypto Street Podcast. This is Crypto Dale coming live from, as you know, shitty cold ass bumfuck Iowa. What's good today? Killer, what do you got going on?
How are you, man? I'm battling a hangover over here. Went out with actually friend of the podcast, Crypto Gat, last night. Had a good time. Drank a little bit too much. Did a little dancing. It's a good time. We went out with my buddy who's out here as well. So we had some last minute like fries from this truck that I think saved us from being a complete wreck drinking wise. But
those are key. Those are clutch sometimes. Speaking of, I will be partying with Gat over St. Paddy's Day. So he's going to get his full dose of pod partying, so to say. He's only missing the Grizzly, but everyone knows you can't outdrink the Grizzly. Prince, what's up?
Hey, man. How you doing?
I have to ask you because it seems that the demand is there for it.
Oh, God.
How the hell's the weather up there?
Oh, God. Kind of sunny today. A little chilly, though, but the sun is out. I wouldn't recommend people going out with their flip-flops or their shorts on. Stay bundled up, stay warm, and get that windshield washer fluid out because the roads are a mess. So you're going to be blind if you don't got it.
Prince actually needs like a weatherman name real quick, like Stormy Rains or something.
like a porn
Stormy
star,
Daniels.
Stormy Daniels. Shout out Stormy Daniels for your videos. They're hard. Prince, so we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches today,
Ooh.
and then another 5 to 8 on Wednesday.
Jesus.
Putting total inches on the ground at around 14 inches.
Jeez. Yeah,
Fucking
it's not that bad
bananas.
out here right now. So you got it worse.
Yeah, for sure. So today's guest, Medici, I figured it'd be great to have him back on with, as being one of the, when I think of minds of crypto, so to say, I think of Medici because his, he's one of the more philosophers of the space.
Philosophical?
He's so philosophical.
Thank you. For once, it's not me pronouncing things like a jackass.
Binance.
Yeah, Binance. So, Medici, thanks for joining us again. Know you're busy.
Thanks for having me
Appreciate
on.
it. I see you've been doing some traveling, right?
Yeah. I was stuck in my house for a few years just doing crypto and decided to finally start coming out and enjoying some of the crypto good life.
So have you been meeting up with other crypto people?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I started that a few months ago with meeting people in New York, and I enjoyed it so much that everywhere I go, I try to meet up with some people.
You've met up with Randy before, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I thought he told me one time he had met you.
Oh, okay, Randy. Yes.
Yeah, non-dual Nelly.
Yeah, yes.
Crypto
I
Randy.
met up with him. Yeah, that was a great time.
Crypto Randy. Good. Yeah, he's a good dude. So shout out Crypto Randy, Randy Marsh, non-dual Nelly, whatever the fuck you're doing.
What does non-dual Nelly mean? It's a great mystery. Does anybody know?
Hey, you know what? He's slated to be on the podcast here coming up, so we'll get answers.
Yeah.
We'll get down to that. So, Medici, what crypto world wise? What have you been up to? What are you watching? What do you think of the current market going on out there?
So I've been closely watching, obviously my investments and looking to add more to them because I think right now obviously the market has been going down for some time and I think there's a lot of very undervalued projects that are gonna do well in the next few months. So I've been looking at those, looking closely at the Z Classic Bitcoin private airdrop or the fork. Because I think that one's going to be huge. Ethereum Classic as well. That one's going to be big. And then just figuring out, where the market's going to continue to go. I think the prices right now are awesome, but if they go lower, it's going to be even better. And just having the capital ready to deploy it and to start buying some of these assets.
I saw Broid tweet something out this morning that maybe I misread this, but it looked like he was keeping the Ethereum Classic airdrop. I can't even remember.
Callisto,
whatever it is. Callisto. He's keeping that and then he chimed in and said, whereas other airdrops he's usually dumped. So, I don't know how. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to end up doing that instead, because the project itself is very strong, and they have a good amount of funding. They have strong development teams, and I think we're going to see it similar to kind of what Ethereum did last year. Obviously, I think Ethereum Classic and Ethereum are two very different projects, and people just compare both. But I think Ethereum Classic is just waiting to. Well, really, I look at it like Litecoin. When Litecoin was hovering at the $3 mark for months and months, even years. And this is like Ethereum Classic as well, where they're underestimating the amount of like increase in price that I think we're going to see. And then it's going to be kind of that thing where at the beginning, no one takes it seriously, but because it's risen in price so much, it's going to be taken seriously. And so I think that's going to be the turning point of people. When Ethereum Classic hits $50 or $100, people are going to start taking it more seriously, which is then going to propel it even higher.
Could you actually explain what the Callisto airdrop is? I've heard of it, but I'm not really familiar with it.
Yeah, so it's essentially trying to be a test net for Ethereum Classic. So it's going to allow developers that are developing on Ethereum Classic to be able to try out, different programs and kind of different updates on the testnet chain first, and then be able to then move it onto Ethereum Classic itself.
That's actually wicked. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's incentivizing people to hold it and stake it so that they can get rewarded for holding it. Because essentially, Ethereum Classic is trying to become digital gold, and having this testnet is going to be very important because you can keep the digital gold aspect of Ethereum Classic alive while still doing all of the development and the innovation on another chain.
I know you mentioned a Bitcoin private. That's like another one that I think, Prince, you've mentioned before that you like. Might have been your bold prediction.
Well, that was my next question is, what are your thoughts now on Bitcoin private? Yeah.
No, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin private. I think Bitcoin private itself, once it comes out, will hit $500. I do see it hitting 10 billion market cap. And I think it's just a matter of time when that happens, obviously, because the problem with these airdrops and these forks is that there's a lot of drama and a lot that's happening during the before and the after dates. But I think usually if it's a very strong project, a couple weeks or a couple months after the airdrop or the fork, it's going to really show its true potential. But, it's very difficult to determine where this is going to go. I mean, this could keep dropping. It could keep going up. But I do see it being worth at least $500 Bitcoin private itself in the next 3 to 6 months. It could be sooner, it could be longer, but I do see it staying around for a while.
Interesting. This seems to be like the time of the airdrops, because there's another one I was just looking into last night a bit, and that's Monero. XMR is going to have an airdrop as well. I think it's around March 15th, 16th timeframe. Yeah, which right now not a lot of people talking about it.
And who's running that one?
I don't even know, honestly. I was just looking it up. I was figuring it out last night, late at night, and I was like, this is interesting. I didn't even know that this was happening. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. There's going to be an airdrop for Monero.
Binance, Monero. Decred.
Decred.
I think Decred's my favorite.
You guys, this is the only reason you guys even like me on this.
Dude, what's funny? Like Ari called you out on that. It was on the Ari Paul episode, and he was like, I've never heard it called Decred before. And it's just Decred.
Oh, that's a Decred.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez. So Medici, this is gonna sound kind of weird of me to ask, but I'm curious. Have you read any good books lately? Any that you would recommend?
I would recommend. So I'm still reading The Alchemy of Finance. I think that's an amazing book, and I'm actually surprised George Soros. So the book talks about kind of George Soros's experience in the market and this new theory that he thinks for the market, and it's a great book for anyone that's interested in investing or trading, because he really kind of goes in depth and looks at his investments, his trades, and kind of his own thinking, and that's a really good book. Another one is Carnegie's biography. I was gifted that by a friend, Arjun, and that one talks about the time kind of during the railroads when a ton of railroads were being built in the US and there was just a ton of money being made. And it was because, it was obviously because of the railroads, but all of the people that were working in the railroads and the insiders were all making just a ton of money. And it was all just insider trading, insider deals.
Yeah.
And so it's very similar to what's happening in crypto in the sense of you have this new industry that people are excited about and there's a ton of money being put in. And so all the people that are well connected within that industry are doing extremely well. And then so like you see Carnegie, and what he did was he made a ton of money off railroads and then he moved and built a steel empire. And so it's going to be interesting to see what these crypto people right now that are going to be making a ton of money, have made a ton of money, and will make a ton of money. What's their next stage? Where are they going to go? Are they going to build companies within crypto? Are they going to build, something completely different? So I think that's a really good book just to look at the time period and see kind of what Carnegie did in himself, and then see if there's any kind of similarities with crypto.
It's funny that you bring up reading about Carnegie and how many similarities there are, because I know, now I haven't read that book, but I've read the one on Jay Gould. It's The Dark Genius of Wall Street, and same time era, the railroad. And it's crazy, the similarities, they talk about all the market action and the way the market was run, no regulation back in the day, just honestly, just a free for all. And, they go over some of the manipulation tactics. And it's just insane seeing the similarities. It's like, wow, like this is just repeating itself. History is repeating itself, just in a new market.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's another good book that goes along with that as well, is The House of Morgan, where it talks about the Morgan family, the banking family that made a ton of money in the US. And there was actually, I think, so there was like a hostile takeover. I think it was Jay Gould was involved in that one as well. And so essentially all these railroad, really rich men were just fighting out on the stock market to control, these railroad companies. And it's just, and then you see all of these, the masses, essentially, the waiters, the bus boys, all these people that were just putting a ton of money to the market because it was going up extremely fast and extremely high. And they just got all completely obliterated because it was literally just rich fighting against the rich.
Yeah, it was how to set up a bear raid, how to set up a bull raid. It was just how to screw over as many people as possible.
And that stuff is like going to slowly be weeded out of crypto, but it's still a major part of it too. It's still small enough where it's easily manipulated. There's so much lack of information among people who get into it. And it's such a, we talk about it all the time, or maybe I do, which is like, maybe I repeat myself on this, but it's a very tough thing to understand at first, crypto. It's not an easy thing to just kind of read a couple of paragraphs and be like, oh, I get it. It takes a really long time, or at least it did for me. And so, but it's going to be interesting to see, and I've already kind of seen it, just in the past couple of years that I've been involved, where these scams, they're becoming in one way kind of more common because there are more people looking to take advantage, all that stuff. But on the other hand, there's also increased regulation. So it's kind of the battle of these two competing forces. And it's interesting to see how that plays out.
And it's also very, obviously we don't want these, the masses or just people in general getting wrecked because of what whales or what, these well-connected people are doing. But I think it's beautiful that we're going to have, hopefully, an open, decentralized playground, essentially, where you want to take over a project or you want this project to do well, you're going to do what it takes. And so I think we're going to see these types of fights that, so like you saw Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. It was a very interesting fight because you had, these very well-connected individuals that were like, no, we're going to fork off and we're going to pump it. Obviously the pump, and we don't know, anything that kind of the details to that. But I think we're going to see more of those. And I think that's where the activist investors are going to come into play. And in crypto, I think it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge in the sense of you're going to have these individuals. And we saw that with like Kylie Jenner, where she one tweet pushed, shaved off 1.2 billion of the market cap for Snapchat. Yeah. And I think that's just the beginning for the world, but also especially for crypto.
I saw you tweet recently about being a contrarian. How have you kind of developed this sort of mindset that you need to be a contrarian in terms of blocking out outside opinions and noise and trying to stay within exactly, your own head and be like, this is what I think is true and this is what I know about the world based on my experiences. So how have you kind of developed that?
Yeah, I don't like to call myself a contrarian, but everything that I do does seem like I am a contrarian. So I guess it's just an easy label, but I don't like to label myself because, obviously then it's like I need to play that part, which is not the part that I want to play. The part that I want to play is just, if there's an opportunity that presents itself and I can make money or I can do something out of that opportunity, then I'm going to take advantage of it. And what's interesting is, at least from my experience in this market, the opportunities are almost always against going with what the market or what the people think. And so, so from the beginning in my life, I hate doing what everyone else is doing, because I learned early on that if I'm doing everything that everyone else is doing and thinking that way, I'm going to just be this like everyone else. And I don't want to be that way. Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to move up because you're just thinking the same thoughts that everyone else is thinking. So since I was young, I would look at what everyone else is doing and just ask myself, okay, how can I do something better? And that's completely different from everyone else. And so that's just been ingrained in my thinking. And that's how I go with all these investments is I look at what everyone else is doing and say, okay, where are the, so, and what's interesting is usually people are right. Usually the market is right, but it's usually not right at the point that it should be right. And so there's a lot of people that, obviously showed a lot of obviously we can't predict where the market is going to go, but usually the market knows when an asset is very good. And then you just record that, you do your research and figure out if it's actually as good as the market says it is. And then you just wait for the bear run to hit. And that's when you accumulate.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think it's very important for most people to just, think for themselves. And that's kind of what a contrarian does. It doesn't matter if the market thinks it or not. You just think for yourself.
Absolutely. That's a big thing. I find I had to make a tweet today about it. Is just, be careful of, whose advice you're always taking, because, you got to be able to just make your own decisions. Because if you're taking some guy on Twitter's, yeah, I'm buying this, you don't know when he's necessarily selling. You don't know where he bought in. You got to be able to make your own decisions and have the confidence in your own decisions. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the main thing is, you don't know, is this person, mentally okay? Because, it's obviously like everyone, it's so easy to put a facade on Twitter. I mean, online and really. And you look at people on Instagram, the pictures they post, and Facebook, Twitter. I mean, it's all just a facade that you want to show. And so you as an individual that's on something like Twitter, that's actually looking and looking for advice and all that, you need to be able to read people based on their tweets. And the thing is, people can hide it and hide who they are, but like if you're looking at the patterns, you're going to be able to spot the instances where it says, okay, this person actually is full of shit because they show their facade or they showed who they really were. And I think that's very important. That's where like reputation is gonna, is playing a bigger role, in the sense of like people begin to know if you're full of shit or if you're not. Yeah. And that's just the beautiful part of this. I mean, obviously social media has a lot of problems, but I think it's in something like crypto Twitter, you have to be consistently or at least somewhat performing well. And it's hard to fake that. You can't fake it, because the market is the market. The market does whatever the fuck it wants, and you could be right, you could be wrong. And so you could fake it up to a point. And that's why people need to be, especially people that are new to the market and to Twitter, is you have to be very aware and
take things with a grain of salt.
There was actually some controversy on Twitter, about these like people with I think that one guy who got hacked. I don't even know his name, but I think so. But there was some controversy about him pumping up his followers or something. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just the sort of thing that you were talking about where you got to be aware.
And it's definitely it's definitely happening. Stuff.
I mean, not take everything at face value.
Yeah. Well, and if you really wanted followers, all you need to do is just spend a couple $100 a month on advertisements to send it to your page, or it's very easy to pump up your followers, and that's all fine and good. But if you're making money misleading others, whether it's intentional or not, that's a huge responsibility. And I think most of these people that have accumulated all these followers are now thinking of, how do I make money with these followers, when instead you should be thinking of how do I provide more value? Because at the end of the day, that's how you gain followers. That's how you gain influence. That's how you gain, connections, money, whatever it is just by providing value. And so when you start chasing followers, you end up lowering your value, and you end up just trying to make a few bucks here and there.
You want to talk about that Venezuela Petro thing, Prince?
Yeah, sure. Let's touch on that a bit. Like, Medici, how are you? Like, what are your thoughts on that whole event going on right now with Venezuela and their petrodollar?
I mean, I don't. That's the problem with this reporting too. Is crypto reporting is horrible. So they say that how much they raised. What it was a couple $100 million.
730 million,
and then
something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so where are the addresses? Who bought it? Like they don't show us any of this, so it's like you have to take it with a grain of salt, essentially. But I mean, I wouldn't touch it. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to observe it and study it, because I think a lot more countries are going to start using it as well.
Yeah, it's something, like, to me, I see it and it's kind of fascinating to me, because this is it's kind of unprecedented, right? Like, this has never really happened in the last century or so, where a country just comes out and will bypass their central bank in a sense and create their own currency, and then to do it with a crowd sale on top of that, to me is just like, it's kind of fascinating to watch, because I don't even know what to think about it. To me, it's like, what is going on here? But if they are successful with it, like you said, it's going to probably lead the charge for more countries to follow suit. And
I feel like it's going to be so hard for them to get credibility, though.
Yeah.
I was reading something a couple of days ago where they were saying there was even some confusion where at one point the people behind it were saying it was on the Ethereum blockchain, and then another person behind it was saying it was its own blockchain, or like based off like an offshoot of Bitcoin or something. And so it seems like they don't even really know what's going on with it. So I don't get how they expect other people to.
I'm going to go to a saying that my dad told me a long time ago. If it looks like shit, smells like shit, it's shit.
You can't polish a turd. So.
You cannot polish a turd. So I'm like Medici. It'll be interesting to kind of watch it fold, but I'm definitely going to be sitting in the back seat on this one. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, safe to say.
Let's just stay on Twitter a little bit. It's kind of been, anyone else feel it's been rather toxic as of lately?
Very much so.
I mean, you post.
That's what happens when people start losing money.
It's bad. Like Cobain is taking a break, which whatever. But the sentiment, but the mindset of some of these people that if you make a post or if you tweet something and then they just come in and just rage the shit out of you. It's rather tiresome to me, and for myself, it's making crypto Twitter unattractive to me.
Yeah, crypto Twitter has been like a weird place lately. It's just, obviously it's extremely negative with the downturn in the markets. Like you said, the toxic, where people are just attacking each other left and right, it seems. I don't know, it's weird. It's been like a very odd couple of weeks on crypto Twitter.
Well, I had some guy call me out because I retweeted some video.
Always have someone call you out.
Yeah, I always got someone trying to pick shit with me. Retweet this video, and it was just hilarious. It's just this girl saying she's getting lit, and it's just her creating a montage of her fighting people and then twerking, and it's just hilarious. I have some guy come out and telling me, swearing at me on Twitter. He's got like following 2 people. That's it. I'm one of them. Just to call me out. And he's telling me I'm, a dickhead, and how I got to grow up, and, how dare I retweet a video of girls bashing each other. And, yeah, I don't even know. Like, I'm just going to disappear soon off of Twitter because it's just too much.
Well, that's. I mean, the main reason for that obviously is that everyone's. Most of these people are just completely wrecked. They bought the top and they listened to the hype, and now they're like, "What the fuck's going on? Let me just attack everyone else instead of look inside and try to figure out what the fuck went wrong." But that's one of the main reasons why I'm such a dick on Twitter, is that you have to put these people in their place. And so when these people start attacking you got to go full forward with them to let them know that that they're that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
They're an idiot. Yeah,
they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like fuck off, man. Like I'm more than happy to help these people, but like if you're coming to me with like bullshit, like I don't got time for that. One of the best ways is just to like essentially like publicly shame them, and just make that attitude not be a thing or not be popular on Twitter, so that people just stop doing it. Because like we saw that I think like a few months ago as well, and like we just trolled the fuck out of all of them. and then they just like disappear.
Yeah.
I saw somebody, they posted a comment on, I think it was under one of your tweets, Medici, where it's like, listen to your earlier appearance on the podcast. You don't seem like nearly the douche you do on Twitter. And I was like, what? Okay. Like, it's a backhanded compliment if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
But like, that stuff's rampant.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy. Just don't fuck with me.
And that goes for everybody. I mean, a lot of people that have been around a long time, and I'm excluding myself out of this. When people send them advice, they're like, oh, these people are dipshits or assholes. It's like, well, what question did you really ask them? Because if you're asking for a handout, which I know a lot of people are, or calls or targets or anything, we all kind of figured that shit out ourselves. So you should too. That's just what pisses me off the most.
I think it's also like asking good questions. It's not something that's easily Googleable or something you can easily find out on your own. Like learn a little bit and then ask relevant questions. Like those are the kind of questions that I think people kind of appreciate because it makes them think and reconsider their own positions and their own opinions and their biases and stuff like that. And so it's just like do a little bit of research and you'll come off way more prepared, I think.
I have a hard time with some of it because especially when people are like, well, what do you think of this? Oh, you're in this? Oh, cool. What's your target? Where are you getting out? Sometimes they'll be like, oh, okay, well, let me know, or something before you get out. So whatever it is, right? And you get this a lot. But for me, it's very tough because, naturally I like to think I'm a nice guy. So I want to help people. Yeah. So, I want to help people. I think everybody's the same way. But when it comes down to the market, it's everyone for themselves in a sense, right? Like you're not trading their account, you're trading your account. So there's going to be a priority thing and it's not them, it's you. And if they are your priority, I think, maybe you got to get into a different area of the market, maybe do some consulting stuff or whatever, but it's really tricky for me because and that's why I have a hard time with actually conversing with people on that kind of stuff because it's just like, I could tell you I'm in this, but there's a good chance you won't know when I'm getting out, and I'm probably not going to bother telling you because I got other things to do.
Well, somebody called, like, a quote unquote, like, called you out for that the other day, Prince. They were They were like, oh, look at Prince. He says he's buying something or he's bullish on something one episode, and then he tweets that he sold it the next day. It's like, hey, like it's not your responsibility to broadcast every single thing you do with your investments. I mean, and if you're taking advice like that, you end up getting wrecked anyway. So do your own research.
Personally, I hardly tweet any of my buys or charts or anything just because I don't give a fuck what I mean, I might send them to some people and be like, hey, am I doing this right? Because when it comes to TA, I'm not very skilled, or at least I don't think I am. So I will not tweet any of that because I don't want to hear everyone call me a fucking idiot, basically.
At least you're aware of that, though. There's a lot of people who will tweet their TA, and you can tell they don't got a freaking clue what they're doing. But they think they got a clue what they're doing. So,
hey, Medici, where do you see the market heading? Where do you see this going, I guess, basically?
I think the bottom is very close, or at least the area in which the bottom is going to be found is somewhere around here. And I think, I'm still extremely bullish for 2018, and it's either going to happen, where we're going to go back to the bull run, either the summer or early, right before the summer, because I think the majority of the market has already been traumatized in the sense of the losses and the drops, and I think a lot of the weak hands have already sold out, and the selling pressure is getting less and less, which might help us move back upwards. The way that I see it is I look at all these really good projects and they're just extremely undervalued. And then I look at the fundamentals and I try to figure out the market and how many people are interested in entering the market. And there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of people that want to get in. And it's just a matter of time before they get in. And you have exchanges like Bitmex that starts opening up to new users. So I think it's just a matter of time, maybe a few weeks, before we continue upwards, and we've seen some of these assets, something like Ethereum Classic, that's starting to go up. Most of these assets, it seems like they're beginning to move upwards. Obviously, I only track very few assets, so I can't really talk for the whole market. But I'm very bullish, and And that's why I'm buying at this level right now. And if we go lower, I'm buying even more because I think it's a good level.
Yeah, like price action, it kind of sucks right now. There's no denying that. But fundamentally, literally, crypto has never been stronger than it is right now in a lot of senses, right? So, yeah, when you take that mindset like you got, obviously, you have your game plan, and that's what you want.
Yeah, I think the prices got ahead of the technology for sure at a certain point there. But I think what we're seeing now is sort of a normalization of that, where the technology is kind of more coming in line with what it should be worth, in its present form. Obviously, investments are valued for what they're going to be worth, not what they're worth in the moment. But it's interesting to see that, that relationship kind of come in line and those two forces kind of merge. It's largely dependent on the coin, I think, too, with the market. I mean, some are just like really hideous where I have little doubt that they're probably going to go through couple of year bear periods here or something similar.
There's some stat that like 46% of ICOs in 2016 have failed already.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually surprised it's not higher.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a good thing in a sense, because you know what? Now we're going to see, and I think we're already seeing it, where ICOs coming out compared to 2016, they're a lot better. 2016, some of the ICOs coming out was just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, okay.
Yeah.
And the ICO game is kind of interesting because it's changing so quickly and so, just so fast. Like before, a crowd sale was a normal thing. Anyone could get in. You didn't need KYC. It was easy peasy. Anyone could do it, really. Now, you're lucky if the coin even has a crowd sale. They're probably just private sales, right? Or they're going the airdrop route. It's changing so much.
Because they've had to become more legit because there were so many bullshit ones that ended up getting, contacted or subpoenaed by the SEC or whatever it may be. Yeah. And so these companies and all these ambitious people, they really had to readdress their projects and look at what they were actually doing, if it was worth anything. And it's funny, like how quickly ICOs have changed. Like it was not, I mean, it was 6 months ago where you could just like enter any ICO you ever wanted to. No KYC, none of that.
The last one that was really good for that was Dragon Chain. There was no KYC for Dragon Chain.
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
Yeah, that was around October, November timeframe.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly it's all changed, right? Like now you try getting that and you won't.
Oh man, I missed out on Dragon Chain. I'm bummed about that one. Bully was saying he liked it at the time of the ICO, and I should have listened because he had some really good points that I was thinking back on. I think this is the one that has like the Disney association, right? Or some form of that.
That was literally the only reason I bought it, was because I was like, yeah, it's associated with Disney. People will probably pump it just because of that.
Yeah.
Killer, it fell back down to $1, low dollar. I mean, I think even 90 cents. I picked some up right around $1. Yeah. But I haven't. On weekends, I try not to open up my Blockfolio.
Time to buy before the
myself.
So this is the thing with Dragon Chain, right? It's gone up so much. Pretty much anyone who got in the ICO was just laughing because it was like, wow, this gave me stupid returns really quickly. But now there's a lot of people who refuse to sell, and then they see the price start dropping a little bit and they start sweating. And some of those sweating, it's like, okay, it's time to get out or something, right? And that's like kind of crushing the price a bit. So shake some of those guys out, and then I think it'll do really well. It's a good project.
Curious, Medici, if you had to hold one coin for the next 2 years, what do you think it would be?
It's
other than Bitcoin.
I think it would be Zcoin. I think that's the one that I would hold.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Killer, what would you do?
Yeah, for me, let me look at my I got to think about this. Honestly, it might be Tezos at this point. I know I switch on this so often, but
Tezos is coming.
I mean, maybe it's been good to me recently. They've kind of put some of their problems behind them. For anybody who doesn't know, they've solved the foundation issue. It looks like they're going to launch within a month or two, finally. But I think now they really, the good thing about fixing the foundation issues is
Givers is gone, right?
Yeah, well, they have so much money now, and the big fear was that they were not going to have access to all this money that they raised in the ICO, which is like over $1 billion at this point. So now it's a project that's, it's been kind of a disaster up to this point, no doubt about that, but it has so much money. This has kind of been my main thesis with it. Like, it would have to do so poorly, or it'd have to be so mismanaged to fail. They have so much behind it. So it might be that, oddly enough.
Prince?
I would probably go with, you know what, Tezos I really like, and my other one would probably be Monero. So
I was thinking of that too. Yeah.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. But I like Zcoin a lot too, because to me Zcoin is like it's undervalued as hell, like for what it does. It's really cool.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why you guys like that? I've heard people like mention Zcoin a lot, but I'm really not too familiar with it.
Yeah, so essentially you're able to mint a new Zcoin and delete the one that you previously owned. So if you had one that was being, had transactions and you wanted to just essentially create a completely new one, you would just go through the minting process. And so you'd put in your address. Let's say you had 5 Zcoin, and then you would create it, and it would be created into a completely new address with no transactions, no history, Zcoin, and you would have 5 Zcoin again. So essentially, what it does is just it essentially teleports your assets to another address, and nobody knows where it went.
So it's like another form of like further privacy.
Yeah,
sort of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It uses the zero.
Very cool.
The zero coin protocol.
They got some of the most profitable master nodes too right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's really the selling point is that it's producing at least 30% a year, and I see it similar to it's obviously privacy, which is going to be huge. That's going to be a huge trend in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And on top of that, it's very similar to something like Dash, where it has these master nodes that essentially builds a community within it, because everyone is incentivized to hold it and also incentivized to actually contribute to the community. So I think it's going to do very well.
Well, I'm pretty sure Roger Ver holds some of it, so that's always a good sign too, right?
Yeah, he's one of the founders actually. So he's a huge part of that.
Follow the big money, because usually the big money can end up making you some more money. So.
Exactly. And Roger Ver has been very good with his picks as well. So he was big in Dash early on. And, we saw how that all played out. I think he's also big in... There's another one he was big in that I was looking into, but I don't remember. But yeah, he knows... Like if he's in it, you can be sure that it's going to do well.
Yeah. All right, you guys have anything for Medici before we move to over under?
Yeah, I do. Curious, what are your take on this is kind of a common question within crypto, is the regulatory environment. What do you think can come? How do you think it's going to play out? What are your views on that all?
I think they're going to clamp down a bit more just on the regulation when it comes to making sure everyone is safe to invest. And I think most of these ICOs are going to end up moving more towards the accredited investor lane as well, just because I think a lot of these projects, so this was the whole ICO craze, was that all these projects just wanted to raise as much money as possible. But now these new ICOs, they don't really care much about the money. They want to build the next Ethereum. They want to build a huge project that's going to gradually increase in price. And so these ICOs don't need the money. What they need is the connections. They need the strategic individuals or organizations or companies that are going to get them there. And so I think that's the way ICOs are moving. And so that's obviously going to be facilitated by government regulation. And overall, just because there's going to be so much money being pumped in and out of crypto, I think regulators are going to take a step back in the sense of they're not going to clamp down as hard as we think they are. And they're just going to kind of play by ear. And if there's any bad apples, they're going to take them out. But I'm optimistic that they're going to be smart about this.
Yeah, that was it that Senate meeting or whatever it was with the CFTC or and the SEC, where Giancarlo, I think that's his last name, and just listening to some of that, it seemed really good. Like he was, he was saying like, let's take, kind of a step back approach. We don't want to do anything crazy right away. We got to kind of let this play out. So it seems like, like you said, it to me, it seems like they probably they're going to want to clamp down, like they said, but they're going to be a little relaxed and hopefully not too crazy.
So I don't know what we did with you last time in DC. If we did bullish, bearish, over, under, whatever the case may be. But so over, under is where we've picked some coins I kind of did here in the last 10, 15 minutes, and then give a price target. We're going to say in a week. And so you guys just say if you're over, under in 1 week. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll just start with obviously Bitcoin. Currently on CoinMarketCap, it's 9,650. Will be over under in 1 week, 10,500.
I'm going under, I think. I think it's going to be range bound between maybe 9,000 and maybe 1050 or 11. But I think it'll end up being a little bit under that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say under. I want to see a touch down of 9,000. I think there's some good support there, so we probably get a nice bounce. But yeah, I'm under for now.
So if it's going to be over 10,100,
Yeah.
Over or under?
I think in 1 week, yeah, that's a difficult. I think it's going to be over, but if it's not over, it's going to be very close to over. So I think it's going to end
I
up
could see that.
in that like
just below
10,000 to 10,500 range.
Yeah, I see it hovering around there too. I think it's kind of.
It's a lot of
Right
chop
now.
right now.
Yeah.
It's just chop.
It's going to be interesting to see how the alts are going to do for the next few
Yeah.
days, because if we start seeing something like Ethereum Classic really continue to move upwards, I think that's going to help other projects have the confidence, or at least the market, to start kind of pushing prices up.
Moving on. Let's go Monero. Currently at 270 CoinMarketCap. Will be over under 290 in 1 week.
290, I'd say over. I think Monero's kind of been a little bit range bound as well, but I believe it's near the lower end of that range right now. So a week from now, I think it'll be maybe low 300s if I had to guess.
See, I like the Bitcoin chart on it right now. It looks like it's kind of due for a nice little pop in the next few weeks or so. How that relays onto the US dollar chart, I'm not sure. That's kind of up to Big Daddy Bitcoin, I think. But the Bitcoin pairing, I'm pretty bullish on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be over. But yeah, like what you said, it's all going to depend on what Bitcoin is doing. Because if Bitcoin keeps sliding down, everything's going to slide down.
Yeah.
All right. So Ethereum Classic with the airdrop coming up in what? Less than 10 days?
Yeah, I think it's a week.
Next 2 weeks or
9
so.
days.
Yeah.
March 5th or 6th or something. Currently it's at 37.43. Will we be in 1 week over under 40? Let's just do 50. That's a lot, but we'll see.
I'm going to go over. I think the chart, if you look at the chart, it looks pretty good for it to be over 50. Within a week, though, probably under. I think it'll take a little bit longer than that.
See, yeah, now the last episode I came out and I said I was kind of bearish on it, but now, that kind of got some people riled up. But now here's what I'm going to say. I think the Bitcoin pairing chart, again, I'm just going to focus on that for now. I think that chart looks pretty poised to move higher. I think it's going to be interesting because to me, you look at the Bitcoin chart, the ratio for ETC, BTC, and it looks good. Like it's been in an accumulation phase for a good while. There's been some really impressive volume down there and it's starting to move up out of it. So all things, point, this is a bullish chart and, it's probably going to do very well. To me, it's going to be interesting how people react as it gets closer to the Callisto airdrop. So who knows what's going to happen. It's a little bit different of a situation than the NXT one was. So yeah, I'm bullish on the meantime. Yeah, leading up to this, the airdrop, I think it's going to go higher.
Same. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is because a week from now, that's like 2-3 days from the airdrop. So I think the rise up is going to happen. Now the thing is that weekend we'll probably see a drop down like we saw with Z Classic today and really yesterday. Today it kind of pulled back up a little bit, but it's gonna. I think it's gonna these whales are gonna try to shake out some hands right before the airdrop happens, and we might see that happening that weekend. But I think leading up to the weekend, it's going to keep going up, and also if the market either stays flat or Bitcoin keeps dropping a bit, people are going to start looking for kind of a safe haven / outlet, and Ethereum Classic could be the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Last one. I actually only had 2-3 written down. So do you guys have one you want to make a shout at?
I think the 3 we got were good.
Yeah, I like those.
I just saw someone tweet this. Let's real quick before we seal this up. They said, got an email from Coinbase that they'll be sharing information with the IRS.
Oh, I saw this.
I expected it to be reported annually like any other financial institution. My only concern is that they might report the wrong thing. They don't know my cost basis or gains and losses. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were just kind of sending him to the people who they previously agreed to hand over information on. I think it was just letting those people know. So at least it's not additional people.
Yeah.
If you weren't caught in the additional wave, I think you're okay. But I mean, the thing you got to think about though is this sets a precedent for Coinbase and what they're willing to do with the government and how they might handle customer records. So whatever your opinions on that, people are free to use what they want, whether it be a hardware wallet, Coinbase. But I don't think it was a huge surprise, but it is indicative, of what they're willing to do and how cooperative they're willing to be.
To me, it's, it's very hard for government bodies to regulate cryptocurrency, just, the currency. But what they can regulate is exchanges. So if they're going to regulate exchanges and they can try and they will, they're going to. And I think that'll probably be where we see a lot of this government intervention coming in.
I think this move is going to end up pushing, the regulation. But I think the main problem with cryptocurrencies and taxes is that they don't make it easy, and they make it a huge burden. And either companies need to step up, or the government needs to realize that this is a very new asset. Let's either lower the taxes or make the taxes in a way where it's easy to calculate, because who's gonna go through the trouble of calculating their taxes? One, if they don't have much money, and two, if they're just buying most of these people are not thinking about taxes all the time, and that's their least of their worries. And so now when you have taxes coming in, it adds just more burden. And right now the infrastructure isn't there to support that burden.
Well, it's such a mess. Yeah, I don't know how anyone can keep a completely accurate records when you have to tax every single crypto to crypto transaction. I mean, maybe now that we know you have to do it, for sure, people will start tracking it. But it's been kind of a circus.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's I'm not an accountant. I don't. Most of these people that are in crypto, they don't have time for that. I mean, obviously they're going to be paying their taxes, but the government itself should be serving the people and not making it a nuisance. And that's essentially what's happening with crypto, is that it's a nuisance.
The problem with that, though, is I don't think our government has really made a lot of things in our life easy.
Yeah, true.
But I completely agree with you, Medici. They've got to make it easier. But based off prior history, I just don't know if it'll be easy.
Yeah, I mean, the government loves money, so if this means that they're going to collect more, well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they react, because if they keep it this difficult, people are just not going to pay, and if they are going to pay, they're not going to be paying their fair share. So the government, when it comes to money, they're going to do all it takes to get as much out of the crypto market as possible. And so hopefully this means making it easier for us, or just going to mean some company is going to be responsible for doing it all for you and all that, and it's going to be cheap.
If they would just cash in some of their Bitcoins that they have from Silk Road, they could just be, take that as tax.
They already sold them all. I think they already sold them all.
Did they sell them all?
I thought they sold them to Draper, but I thought Draper bought them all.
Well, fucking losers sold the 600. All right, Medici, any parting words before we sign off for the day?
No, well, I mean, I think obviously the market has been very negative to most people, but I think this is the time to reassess what you did right, what you did wrong. Really focus on doing research, understanding the market, knowing that this is gonna eventually go back up into a bull run, and if it does, you need to know what assets to get into it, and just keep a level head. I think a lot of people, and we are seeing this with Twitter, is a lot of people are just going a little crazy, and they're not looking at what's going to happen in the next 6 months, year, 2 years from now, and kind of keep things into perspective. Because just because it's bad right now doesn't mean that it's going to be bad, in a few months from now.
It's funny too. A lot of people get in this space, for the technology, and then when it's goes into a bearish run, they're they're panicking because they're losing money. Well, if you get in the technology, you need to be able to think long term and ride it out. So you just gotta be patient. So, well, thanks for being on, Medici. It was great, like always. Value your opinion.
Thanks,
keep at it on Twitter. Keep being that dickhead because it makes me laugh all the time.
Thank you. Well, I'm taking that role now and gonna run with it.
All right, cool. Well,
Great.
Everyone, thanks for listening. Take care. Tip your waitress. Peace out.